In the 1980s, HIV and AIDS became the center stage of many lives, and with it fear, stigma, and discrimination followed. At that time, very little was known about AIDS and how it was transmitted, and this was frightening to a lot of people. They were afraid of those who were already infected, afraid of becoming infected themselves, and this fear and lack of information, among a variety of other reasons, has kept that discrimination alive today. HIV and AIDS discrimination exists around the world, and it is often rooted in the lack of understanding the virus and how it's transmitted. That absence of information is also accompanied by prejudice. The fear of being branded or socially outcast may even prevent a person who is HIV positive from being tested or treated. There is also a higher rate of identity crisis, isolation, loneliness, low self-esteem, and lack of self-care. Much of the HIV and AIDS stigma or discrimination towards the transmission of the virus is how it's transmitted itself. The most common transmission is through sex, and sex is already such a sensitive and taboo subject in so many cultures. When you couple this with prejudice towards homosexuality, bisexuality, promiscuity, sex working, and IV drug use, you've only uncovered the tip of the iceberg that is discrimination. While the United States have laws that prohibit the discrimination against those with HIV and AIDS, it still continues. It continues within the U.S., other countries, and in small communities everywhere. Reactions that people have had to those who are infected have ranged from silence, outcasting, denial, hostility, and just outright violence. Some of those forms of discrimination include not being selected for a job when they are more than qualified, being denied housing or the option to purchase a house because someone is prejudiced. Some people are even forced to pay extra money when they rent or purchase a home. They are often refused restaurant and hotel services. People are afraid to share a cup or a plate that may have been used by someone who was HIV and AIDS positive. In other cases, people have lost the property rights when their spouse dies, losing everything they have worked so hard for. There are also biological differences between the treatment of HIV and AIDS positive women and men. Social and cultural responsibility and consequences for women with HIV is that they have the ability to transmit the virus to their baby during pregnancy, labor and delivery, or even as the result of breastfeeding. Because in some cultures, breastfeeding is the norm. It's expected. If an HIV positive woman chooses not to breastfeed, it can draw unwanted attention to her HIV status. This can place her at risk of abuse, ostracism, and even worse, if the situation is that they are expected or thought to be sex workers or even injecting drugs. While men face similar consequences when they're accused of being sex workers and IV drug users, the promiscuous lifestyle is often labeled on them as homosexual, and they are often labeled as engaging in homosexual conduct. Being labeled as homosexual or gay is often a death sentence. In places like Russia and India, men are often beaten, kidnapped, raped, and killed because of this one label. Even if they're not, the HIV status alone can give them that label. With an estimated number of over 35 million people worldwide are infected with AIDS, 1.8 of them are children under the age of 15. We cannot allow such discrimination and injustice to continue. Everyone deserves the right to pursue their hopes and their dreams whether it's to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a scientist, president, or even a homemaker. We cannot halt their lives simply because of the status of a virus.